Are you currently in the market to buy a home? Maybe you've been putting in multiple offers but haven't found the right property yet. Or maybe you're a first-time home buyer that's just getting started with the home buying process. Either way, this video is for you. My name is Jeb Smith. I'm a real estate broker here in Southern California. And in today's video, we're going to talk about some things that you should pay attention to when buying a property. Whether you're a first-time home buyer, a move-up buyer, a luxury home buyer, it doesn't really matter. These are things that kind of takes the emotion out of the process when buying a house. As we've said before, people buy emotionally and they justify logically. So what we're trying to do in this video is provide you with a little bit of logic, some things that you should pay attention to as a buyer when looking at properties. This will save you some grief in the long run, and it'll make you start paying attention to things that maybe you're not usually paying attention to. As a realtor for nearly 18 years, when I'm showing buyers property, these are things that I try to point out to them as a professional real estate agent. But a lot of agents out there are out there just showing homes, or maybe you as a home buyer are just going through open houses and you don't have your representation with you at that time, and then you're just going back to your agent telling them that you like the home and wanted to write an offer on it. So in today's video, let's talk about some of these things that you should pay attention to when you're walking through homes, whether you're with your agent, whether you're at an open house, regardless of the situation, just to make sure that you're making the right decision. The first thing that we're going to talk about in today's video is don't get caught up in the furniture that's in the house, right? Whether it's good or bad. A lot of times home buyers will walk into a property that has been staged. Nice furniture, not a lot of furniture in each room. The rooms look really large. The buyers love the furniture because it's designer grade, kind of looks like a model home. And buyers get caught up in the furniture of the property and how it fits the rooms, and starts thinking that, when they buy the property, that's what it's going to look like. Well, it could look like that in some cases, but what you should be doing as a buyer is looking at the rooms, right? Not looking at the furniture, only looking at the furniture for, maybe where you're going to put your couch, or maybe, how things fit in certain areas. But as a whole, don't get caught up in the furniture. Don't get attracted to the furniture when making your offer. That's an emotional decision, and you need to think logically in these cases. The second thing is, if the furniture in the house sucks, don't get caught up in the furniture, right? Sometimes people have oversized furniture that makes rooms look really small. Sometimes they have older furniture that's worn out, and you get caught up in the furniture and stop looking at the property as a whole. Don't do that, right? You want to make sure that you're looking at, again, the size of the rooms, how, they fit what you're trying to have with regards to your family, your lifestyle, whether you entertain, all of that good stuff. Don't get caught up in the furniture of the property. Another thing when walking into a property that has a lot of furniture in it, buyers, start thinking about the furniture, the layout of the rooms, and they're thinking emotionally in a lot of cases and not really looking at the details of the property, right? When there's a lot of things in a property, a buyer walks in and they're the emotions are going, and they stop paying attention to the details of the property. As a home buyer, when you're walking through a property, you need to pay attention to the details. You need to be looking around, not necessarily, pulling up rugs, looking behind furniture, but just pay attention to the little things in the property, because they're often overlooked when you're initially viewing a property because of the excitement, because of the emotion in the process. And it's the little things that once you move into a property or you're there during the home inspection that you start to notice. And as a professional, one thing I like to do with clients is start pointing out some of these things initially when walking through the property, not to be negative or what have you, but to make sure that the buyers are aware of them. Often cases they're not paying attention to the roof of the property. They're not paying attention to, the eaves of the property, the baseboards, that sort of thing, right? As an agent, that's things I'm looking at so that I can bring it to a buyer's attention, so that they know exactly what they're purchasing. The second thing we're going to talk about here is paint colors. Don't worry about paint colors because paint colors can be changed really easily. Oftentimes I'm showing buyers property, they walk in and they, get caught up in the paint color of a room versus again the layout of the property, the size of the rooms. Can they make that property work with a different paint color? As somebody that's sold a lot of properties, what I can tell you is that paint and flooring can change a property entirely. So don't worry so much about the paint colors in those situations. Another thing when buying a property is that oftentimes when you walk into these properties, all the lights are on, right? The lights are on in every room. It makes the property seem really bright. And oftentimes buyers overlook the natural light because of all of the lights on in the property. And as agents, one thing we do in properties when we show them during open houses or when doing showings is we turn the lights on, right? Because we want it to seem bright. But oftentimes that there might be no natural light coming into the property because of the way the property is situated, and buyers get fooled because of the amount of light in the property, and then don't really realize until all the lights are off that there's not a good amount of natural light flowing through the property. So if natural light is something that that you want in a property, then you need to pay attention to that. Another thing to pay attention to is if the property sits near a busy road, backs to a freeway, even close to a freeway or a busy road, is if there's any running water at the property, in the backyard, any fountains, any swimming pools, any waterfalls, any type of water moving, because oftentimes water is there to help drown out sound. And when showings are happening, when open houses are going on, oftentimes, the sellers have those features running because it provides a little ambiance, it provides some relaxation, if you will. But more importantly, it's drowning out potential noise in many cases. So you might ask if there's an agent there, if they can turn that off so you can actually hear, what is going on around there. Or after leaving the property, maybe you come back at a time when there's not an open house going, when there's not a showing going, and just walk down the street, see if you hear any noise, because then you'll be able to get a really good idea of what's around with regards to different noises, the potential of dogs barking within the neighborhood, anything like that could be drowned out during those potential showings that you're going through. And lastly, as a home buyer, walk the neighborhood. Introduce yourself to the neighbors, knock on their doors, talk to them, find out how long they've been there, find out what they think about the neighborhood. Neighbors will usually be very, very honest with you, and they'll tell you exactly what's going on with every neighbor in the neighborhood so you can find out who lives around you. Nothing worse than moving into a neighborhood and finding out that, your neighbors aren't what you thought they were. So spending a little bit of extra time walking the neighborhood, and not just walking at one time. Maybe you drive the neighborhood, on the weekends, during the day, midday, maybe sometimes in the morning, just to see exactly what is happening there, and that'll give you a really good idea of what is going on. Now, if you're already familiar with the neighborhood, that's a completely different scenario. Maybe you don't need to do that, but if you're not, and in this market, many buyers out there are looking in neighborhoods that they're not familiar with just because of the lack of supply. So if you are walking around or putting in offers in neighborhoods that you're not familiar with, make sure you're taking that extra step. Now, a lot of these things can seem silly to you, but I can tell you as a buyer, oftentimes people buy property and then they come back to have regrets. They have, resentment in some way because they forgot to do these things, or maybe they just didn't forget. They just didn't even think about them initially because they were caught up in the process, because it's a fast moving process. Most escrows close in 30 days or less. And so these things happen very, very quickly. So as a buyer, if you can make yourself slow down a little bit initially when walking the property, when putting in offers, it might actually save you some heartache and grief in the end. So what are your thoughts on this? Have you bought a property that you've had regrets about? If so, why? What regrets did you have? Do you have friends or family member that have? Let me know in the comments below. And, if you have questions for me, comments for me, do me a favor, you can put those there as well. But I will continue to update you on the housing market, things that you can do as a first-time home buyer, someone, buying a home in this market to help you put yourself in the best position so that you're not making quote unquote dumb decisions as I get more information. But for now, I appreciate you taking the time to watch. I appreciate all the support. Hope to see you again soon. Have a great day. Bye-bye.